It's more and more common now that clients I see are dealing with mental health issues, whether it be anxiety, depression, PTSD, or ADHD. It definitely plagues millions and millions of people. Throw the pandemic in the mix and things have only worsened for many. According to Psychology Today, there was a 27.6% increase in anxiety or depressive disorders since the pandemic worldwide. Those 25 and under tend to have worsened mental health due to the fact that the brain is still developing, so any sort of stress on a developing brain is going to be much more difficult than someone with a fully developed brain. Hi, I'm Joy Hoisington, functional nutrition coach, and I help people who struggle with their health get to the root cause of their issues so they can begin to heal holistically. If you don't mind taking the time to consider hitting subscribe on your screen and turning on the notifications bell so that you can be notified when I post weekly videos, you definitely won't regret it. Now, a very common issue within the realm of anxiety is PTSD. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a condition that usually follows a traumatic event, whether solo or repeated. And according to John Keys, who's a licensed professional counselor and herbalist from Portland, Oregon, it can cause sleep disturbances, shortness of breath, racing heartbeat, hard heartbeat, feelings of panic and fear, obsessive thoughts and images that can cause restlessness, and repetitive and cyclical negative thoughts. This all can cause withdrawal from social situations, feeling shut down and depressed, and feeling worn out during the day. Now, everyone processes trauma differently. So if you take one person that experienced repeated traumatic events versus a person that only experienced one traumatic event, they could both have the same level of trauma from either one, or they could have no real detrimental effects from the traumatic event. But a common cause for PTSD is through sexual abuse or violence, or witnessing a violent traumatic event as a friend or family member. And people with PTSD are in a heightened arousal state, which basically means a fight or flight state much of the time. This means for that these people, the slightest thing can cause them to become overwhelmed, uneasy, and anxious. Now, as someone who has a family member who went through this, and also having gone through this myself, I can tell you it's a terrible thing to go through, and my heart truly goes out to anyone that's experiencing PTSD or any form of anxiety. Now, when I went through it back in 2010, the peak of it was about a 3-year period. And during that time, I felt super alone, like no one understood me or knew what I was going through, and I actually felt pretty hopeless. But today, I'm going to share with you 4 things that you can do right now to promote healing for PTSD or generalized anxiety that really, really helped me, and I know they can help you too. Now, I'm sure that you know that the brain is a complex organ that is affected by past and current experiences, support networks, sleep, movement, and nutrition. And I do address all of these things with those that I work with. But for the purpose of this video today, these 4 strategies to implement are within the realm of nutrition, since this is such a huge, huge factor due to the gut-brain axis, or basically the route that neurotransmitters and brain chemicals are able to travel between in the gut and the brain. So number 1 is to identify food sensitivities and allergies. There's a few different kinds of reactions that can occur that start in the gut and that they can cause problems when you eat certain foods. Firstly, there's an intolerance, which is just basically an inability to really break down certain components of food. For example, lactose intolerance, which often occurs due to a lack of lactase enzymes. Then there is an IgE allergy, which is what's called a true allergy within the medical communities. It's basically when it's a significant enough of an allergy, this can cause anaphylactic shock and even death. Then you have your sensitivities, which can also be immune mediated, but it's often in the form of a delayed sensitivity reaction, which can take anywhere between 1 and 3 days on average to happen after eating the offending food. So for example, you might notice that if you have gluten one day, that if you hadn't had it for a while and you eat gluten, you don't have symptoms until like maybe day 2 or day 3 after eating that. And you wouldn't really connect the dots because you hadn't eaten the gluten for quite a while. Most common offending foods for all 3 of these types of reactions that involve mental health are gluten, eggs, dairy, and sugar. You can actually start figuring this out now by tracking what you eat, your reactions, if any, and your bowel movements in a tracker. I actually have left a link below to the one that I send to my clients in the description. I didn't actually discover that I was gluten sensitive until after I went through a horrible, horrible bout of anxiety in my mid-20s. I discovered mine through a 2-week elimination diet, which is actually what's recommended for those who are curious about food sensitivities. And that's where you basically remove the possible offending food completely for 2 weeks, evaluate how you're feeling, and then reintroduce at week 2 and reevaluate. If the symptoms return when you eat the food, you know it's likely a sensitivity at that point. Number 2 is to heal your microbiome. Your microbiome is a complex network of beneficial bacteria. It's outside and inside your body, and the amount of bacteria that we have in and on our bodies is roughly around 100 trillion, which is actually more than the actual cells that we have as humans. One interesting fact is that your body's microbiome changes within 24 hours based on what you're eating. Also, you can actually begin to crave what the microbiome is feeding on based on the health of your microbiome. So if you crave sugar and junk food all day, there are high odds that the unhealthy bacteria outweigh the healthy ones. Healthy bacteria thrive on prebiotic fiber and short-chain fatty acids primarily. Short-chain fatty acids are also what helps your body form the blood-brain barrier, which is a protective layer between the brain and your bloodstream. Some of my favorites to recommend for the short-chain fatty acids and the prebiotic fiber are butter, onions, asparagus, garlic, broccoli, kale, and cabbage. In addition, fruit and vegetable skins are high in soluble fiber, which also help to feed the healthy gut bacteria. If you don't like any of these foods, I recommend trying a smoothie with your favorite fruits, vanilla extract, nut milk, some stevia, and a small handful of kale. Some other ideas are making kale chips in the oven, and you can see a recipe that I posted below for this. If veggies are a texture issue for you, I recommend roasting them in the oven. For example, broccoli that's marinated with some melted coconut oil and salt are delicious roasted in the oven around 350 to 400 degrees. You can also make them baked into breakfast quiche cups as an idea, and I have also left a recipe for this below. Unhealthy bacteria primarily thrive on sugar, whether natural, artificial, or processed, as well as processed carbs in bread and alcohol. All of these foods will lead to poor digestive health if consumed too much. If you cannot tolerate any of the foods that I mentioned here in any form, then it may be wise to consider a prebiotic supplement. Here's one that I recommend. Of course, combining these prebiotic-rich foods with probiotic-rich foods is a very important thing to do. The probiotic-rich foods actually contain the healthy live bacteria themselves. When you consume a lot of the probiotic-rich foods, you can help to change and cultivate your microbiome, and then the prebiotics feed those microorganisms. The probiotic-rich foods are going to be foods like yogurt, whether dairy-free or regular, fermented foods such as sauerkraut and apple cider vinegar, miso, kimchi, and homemade pickles. These are actually pickles that I love to make with my daughter. They're easy to make at home in a large mason jar, and I've left the recipe for this below. You can simply take 8 ounces of water, 8 ounces of apple cider vinegar or regular distilled vinegar, add in a half teaspoon of salt, some fresh herbs of choice such as thyme or garlic, and then cut a cucumber into slices lengthwise and add them into the jar. After a couple hours, they'll be ready to go. They're really, really yummy, and they're super fresh and crunchy and delicious. So I highly recommend trying those for fermented food. Again, if you can't tolerate any of these foods, then I recommend a probiotic supplement. I actually have included a free PDF document below that shows the different strains of probiotics, as well as some prebiotic-rich foods and what they can all help to treat. Because actually, when you change your microbiome to be in a healthy, diverse state, you're going to notice that all aspects of your health will change. So what can happen when your microbiome is not diverse, healthy, and thriving is that it will send out inflammatory signals to your immune system, or your gut will send out these inflammatory signals. And you'll end up with tissue damage in the lining of your intestines, which then prevents your gut from producing the brain chemicals that we rely on for mental health, such as serotonin and GABA, which controls fear and anxiety. If you didn't know, about 90% of the total serotonin and GABA is produced in the digestive tract. And that's why it's so important. The microbiome is sort of like computer software in a computer, except in our bodies. Now, when a computer gets a virus, the whole system starts acting wonky. With your gut microbiome, if the wrong microbes get in there, it literally can cause everything else to malfunction in the body. Number 3 is to incorporate brain-healthy foods. These are going to be foods high in antioxidants, such as red, blue, and purple foods. They're high in what's called anthocyanins. They're a powerful, powerful antioxidant. They fight oxidative stress caused by aging, inflammation, intense exercise, and unhealthy foods. Some other types of antioxidants are high in leafy green vegetables, citrus fruits, olives, tomatoes, and broccoli. A few others to mention are dark chocolate, which so many of us love. Dark chocolate is known for its magnesium, which is a very brain-friendly mineral that helps to make brain chemicals, and flavonols, which are another antioxidant. And then my other brain-healthy food to recommend is nuts, which are loaded with fiber, minerals, vitamins E, Bs, and healthy fats. Lastly, it's important to be getting enough omega-3 fats, and please be sure to watch my video on fats. Link is right over here if you haven't yet, because that is a whole other topic that you need to learn about for mental health. The top sources of omega-3 fats are fish and fish oil, walnuts, flax oil, and chia seeds. Now, in order for the best brain health possible, you should be eating a full serving of flax oil or fish oil every day, unless you're on blood thinners or of any kind or you're about to have surgery. And if this is the case, then you should be not having fish oil or foods really high in omega-3 fats, just because omega-3s have a strong ability to thin the blood. If you're not sure about meds you're taking, you should definitely check with your doctor on whether or not fish oil is recommended. But unless you're eating fatty fish every day, you won't be getting enough omega-3 fatty acids in the form of DHA, which is very important for brain cells. Number 4 is to stimulate and heal your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve in the body that largely controls the parasympathetic nervous system, or basically the part of your nervous system that helps us to rest and digest. This is the part of the nervous system that is involved in the gut-brain axis, which means it controls digestive function. It extends from the brain down through the neck and into the stomach. The gut-brain axis is responsible for why you might lose your appetite when you're anxious, or when you feel sick to your stomach and then you start to feel mentally fatigued or under the weather. Some ways that you can begin to strengthen your vagus nerve are, first of all, if you have neuropathy of any kind, I'm telling you right now, I encourage you to schedule a 30-minute assessment session, because I have extra advice for you depending on certain factors. But if you don't have neuropathy and you want to strengthen your vagus nerve, here's a short list of things that you can do. First of all, you can gargle every day. You can sing, meditate on scripture and out in nature by going for a walk alone, or while writing in a journal, exercising, spending time doing diaphragmatic breathing, and hot and cold therapy, which is just going from a state of being warm to a cold state. This helps to stimulate the vagus nerve. You can do this in the shower, or sometimes people like to use a steam room or a sauna, or you can try an ice bath if you're brave enough. Either way, managing stress in your life is important for vagal nerve stimulation. If you're looking to lower stress levels, I can teach you ways to start doing this in your life right now. I can show you how to practically lower your stress by incorporating some of these practices into your daily routine. For me personally, I spend time meditating on Bible scripture in the morning and then in prayer, spending some time just in quiet and listening for any input that God has for me for the day. Sometimes I'll journal those thoughts down, and then I typically like to go into the sauna, sit in silence a little bit more, and then do a morning workout. I also love aromatherapy, swimming, walking and hiking, listening to music, and doing things with my hands, like getting into the kitchen and preparing healthy meals with raw ingredients, which can be very therapeutic because it's such a beautiful act of self-care. Art projects and playing the piano or guitar are a few other things that I love. Music is super, super therapeutic because of the sound and the effects of sound on the body. So basically anything that you can do that helps to promote sense of calm and stability. Either way, a mental health journey is one that needs time, grace, and patience, but healing will come the sooner that you can give yourself the stress relief and care that you need. I would love if you'd reach out to me. I left a link in the description for you to block time in with me. And also, when you have a mental health issue, you're more likely to have a nutritional deficiency. So please make sure to watch my video over here on vitamins and supplements if you think that might be you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you all next week.